Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
I had a friend contact me yesterday and tell me something that happened to his employee. And I want you to pay attention to this because this could very well happen to you. It may have already happened to somebody that you know. It's not new, but what is new is the extent that it is being done. It's a scam. It's outrageous. And when you first hear it, it is absolutely unbelievable, but it's absolutely true. Let me tell you what happened. This guy his employee, very successful employee, has a job, has a home. Now he is homeless and he is facing criminal charges. What happened? Well, he was gone for quite some time, off on an assignment. When he comes back, he finds that there are people living in his home, squatters. About 6 or more Middle Eastern people who are immigrants, refugees, whatever, and they refuse to leave. So he calls the police. When the police arrive, they produce a utility bill that they have now taken out in their name. The police say, well, they've got documentation here, and he says, but there's no lease. They said, well, we're on a month-to-month basis, and we're paying cash. Totally lying, of course. But because there is a dispute, because they do have some paperwork showing their name at that address, the police say, we can't do anything about this. This is now a dispute between two parties. That's not what the police do. You're going to have to take this into the courts and resolve this in a civil manner. So they turn him away. He goes in the very next day. He's got all of his paperwork together. He gets an eviction notice, 24 hours notice of inspection, so forth. He shows up. Now the house is fortified. They've changed the locks. They have put boards over the windows and reinforced them from the inside, and they refuse to accept any of this paperwork. Frustrated, as you or I would typically be, most of us would be in this situation, he breaks in. He notices that virtually all of his possessions are now gone, and there's just these Middle Eastern people there. Harsh words begin, and violence ensues. The police are called again, and he is arrested, charged criminally with breaking and entering into his own home and other issues. Now, how did this happen? This is called adverse possession, and it's a large category of these types of things. But squatting is something that's been done quite some time. It's now going to take him, at the very least, just to get them out of his home, 90 to 120 days to evict them. But you have to understand just how easy this is to do. And as my friend, his employer, went down to bail him out and talked to the police chief was very sympathetic. He knew this really had happened, but there really wasn't anything he could do in order to take sides with this. He told him this is something that's happening increasingly. This is here in Texas, in a small town. It's not a big town. And my friend asked him, is this CARE? Is this La Raza? Is this, MS-13? What is it? He goes, I can't really say anything except that we're investigating it. You have to understand that when we talk about undocumented immigrants, we're talking about people who are foreign citizens who come here and criminally trespass, aren't we? That's the essence of it. They're not just illegal aliens. They are citizens of a foreign country coming here and criminally trespassing on our country. They know how to play the game. They know how to get through the paperwork, and now they have discovered this scam as well. And you need to understand that it's going to be very difficult to protect yourself. I mean, we need to have some laws that require utility companies to vet the people who are putting utilities in their name. That would be the simplest thing to do if we could get the legislatures to step up and do that. Perhaps you can go to your utility companies and leave orders with them. I don't know if they would pay any attention to you if you tell them, I don't want the utilities taken out of my name and put into anybody else's name unless you see documents that prove that they have a lease or a deed that shows that they are the rightful owners of this. I mean, how do you protect yourself against that, really? You have a situation where if these people are really wise about this, they can wait and they can stalk your house and they can wait until you leave. You don't have to take a vacation even. You don't have to be gone for a very long period of time. They could stalk your house. They could go down. They could change their names on the utility, put their name on the utility bills, and then wait until you're gone and then barricade themselves in the house. And when the police arrive, same situation as it was with my friend's employee. See, that's the vulnerability that we all face. It is something that is very disturbing. But, when we look at this situation, and again, it doesn't have to be an illegal immigrant to do this. Any crook can do this to you. We need to make some changes to the laws, but understand that it is not just this type of theft of your home that we have to be concerned about. The story that was on the Drudge Report a couple of days ago from LifeSet, talking about the fact that 23% of public school children live in immigrant households. In other words, one or more people in that household is an illegal immigrant. 23% of public school students. So what is happening here? And I've said this before, and we need to get an understanding of what is going on. You understand that one of the largest expenses for your home is your property taxes. You can never really truly own your own home. You're going to rent it from the government all of your life if you have property taxes. And most of those property taxes go to paying for the schools, don't they? Virtually all of them in most jurisdictions that I've lived in. And so when you have a situation where you see 23% of the children are citizens of a foreign country that don't want to pay to educate their children, instead, like the Mexican government, they work with all 50 of their consulates throughout the United States to help their citizens remain here and get services like education at our expense, which goes on our property tax bill. Can you stand that kind of increase? As they point out in the study from Washington-based Center for Immigration Studies, they say that this is more than doubled from 1990. It is up 7% from just 7% in 1980. So it was 7% in 1980. So it is more than tripled since 1980, and it has doubled since 1990. That mostly is going to show up in your tax bill. Can you stand that kind of increase? What is it going to do? It's going to put homeownership out of the reach of most people. That was the American dream. That's going to be sacrificed for dreamers who are coming here for free education at your expense because their government refuses to pay for it. And then, of course, what is going to happen is that even if you're not going to have a house, even if you're in an apartment because you can't afford a house any longer, your apartment is going to shrink. What you can afford in an apartment is going to shrink because the property taxes will be reflected in your rentals. Even though they're not going to be itemized, it will be part of the rent that you pay. So the American dream is shrinking or it is disappearing. Why? Because we've decided that we're going to provide Cadillac educations for anyone who comes here who chooses to be educated in the language of their choice, and their country does not want to pay for their education. So I just wanted to give you this story. This is something that has happened before, but it is increasing in terms of its frequency. There's evidence that this may be something that is now being organized very carefully by immigrant groups. And so you're probably going to see a lot more of this from these so-called undocumented immigrants who are actually foreign citizens criminally trespassing. Now they may be criminally trespassing on your home. You've been warned. Take the appropriate steps to try to protect yourself. Try to get legislation enacted to keep this from happening. It's very easy. Every place that I have lived, I've never had to prove anything when I put utilities in my name. Let's consider what's happening to your home at the federal level. Take a look at the budget cuts that Donald Trump has proposed and pronounced by many in the GOP establishment as dead on arrival. What he's trying to do is eliminate some of the wasteful spending of the Department of Education. But understand that as we look at this, 23% of public school students are immigrants. That reflects itself, as I said, in your property taxes. They have to build more schools, they have to hire more teachers, they have to hire translators. If the federal government would do its job at the border and keep this from happening, rather than having a deferred action on childhood arrivals, that is basically anchor babies for kids that aren't babies. Okay, that's anchors up to the age that they let them come in, which extends. They can't take them out until the age of 31. I think they have to come in at the age of 17 or earlier in order to be eligible for that program, but they can then remain on that program up to the age of 31. We cannot afford this. And so the federal government has created this problem. The federal government is not doing anything about the borders. What they could do is to shut down some of these expensive programs that the Department of Education is doing because it's not a federal function. The federal government should not be involved in education. The federal government should be involved in borders, and that's why we're seeing this explosion. So from the federal government down to the state governments, which have the task of education and have the task of protecting your home, we need to get the government to do its proper job. They're distracted on too many other side issues to even protect your home in a reasonable way. As I pointed out, make sure somebody doesn't put the utilities in their name for your home and just take ownership of it. Absolutely amazing that that can happen. Be aware that it can. That's all we have for tonight's news. Join us again on Monday at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the Infowars Nightly News.
In case you haven't heard, Infowars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists. Infowars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the Infowars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. Infowars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the Infowars store that are only available for Infowars Prime subscribers. That's Infowars Prime at Infowars.com/app. And if you can hear my voice, you are the resistance.